Hi there, it's Ian here, and you're watching Grumpy Opinions, the show where I'm going to tell you all about what I think of films, TV shows, games, and life in general. Let's get on with the show. The Mandalorian is the new Star Wars TV show that's just about finished its first season. It's all about Mandy the Mandalorian and his wee baby Yoda pal, and they've done lots of episodic stuff up until now. But here we are, penultimate episode of the season. And remember, folks, you can follow me on Twitter at Grumpy Opinions and click the wee bell icon and subscribe and do all that good stuff. But yeah, let's get on with Chapter 7, The Reckoning. And that kicks off with Mandy getting like a hologram text thing from last week, now that his comms unit's working again. And it seems that once he left Navarro, that planet at the beginning, the Empire took over, and now Dillon wants to cut him a deal, so if Mandy comes back and kills off Werner Herzog, they'll wipe the slate clean and he'll be like back in the guild properly, and it'll all be good, his dues will all be paid, he'll get 2 tickets to NASCAR or something thrown in for good measure. And not being a total idiot, Mandy suspects a trap, so he goes back to the episode 3 planet and catches up with Cara Dune, who's like working in the pub doing like boxing type things in a brawl. And she's up for a bit of a giggle, so, they all tool up and with guns and stuff, and they have a quick stop off at the episode 1 and 2 planet. And there he picks up Quill, the old guy played by Nick Nolte, and he's still farming dirt and it's feeding his CGI pork chop monsters. And it turns out that in his boredom, he's reprogrammed IG-11, the robot from the first one, and trained him to be like some kind of housework robot. And he's doing all chores and things like that. And anyway, old Nick says that, he'll look after baby Odds, but he reckons that IG-11 would actually do a better job, but Mandy's like total robot racist, so he says no chance, no droids allowed. Now they're back on Navarro, they meet up with Dillon and a few of his dudes, and it's kind of tense, but things do actually go smoothly. And then at the camp they get attacked by giant flying things, and then they end up killing off most of the pork chop monsters, and then they claw up Dillon's arm, and he's poisoned, and it's not looking too hot, he's probably going to die. And it's more or less goner time, but then Bubba Yods comes up and uses forced heal, which is a thing now, apparently. Anyway, that gives Dillon a change of heart, so first thing next morning, he shoots both his mates, as you do, yeah. And that seems the plan was to kill off Mandy and take Bubba Yods themselves, but knowing that they no longer want to go with the plan, they go back with the original idea, the fake plan, so they decide to send Bubba Yods and Quill back to the ship while they go into town. And when they get there, it turns out there's not a couple of stormtroopers, there's absolutely loads, not just the 4 guards that Dillon had promised, because he was meant that the 4 guards that Werner actually has himself. So when they get to the office, he wants to see Bubba Yods, and this happens.
I would like to see the baby.
It is asleep.
We all will be quiet.
And genuinely, I think I laughed for about 5 minutes straight. But he gets interrupted by a call from Gus from Breaking Bad, and Gus is like, "Hey, got Yoda yet?" And Werner's like, "Yeah, just about." And then boom, the whole place comes under fire, and it turns out it's a whole load of death troopers. Yeah, no, they're really called that actually, that's what they're called. And they're flanked by a whole load of stormtroopers, and then Gus pops up, and Mandy radios to Nick, and he's riding with the wind, but the radio alerts the scouts, and they chase him down, and they snatch Yoda from beside Nick's motionless, smoking dead body. Can you say Christmas cliffhanger? So what did I think? Well, I think this week was easily the best episode we've had so far. And yeah, as I predicted, it's going to be definitely a story arc based cliffhanger, keeping over the last 2 episodes. Probably just keep you all stewing over the holiday weekend and Christmas and that. And it managed to do what the season thus far has actually completely failed to do, in making the show actually feel like a proper universe and a story and not just a whole bunch of unrelated episodes. I mean, although it's only really the first episodes that are actually important here, because think about it, right? Mandy only relies on help from Quill and Cara, who, he met in the first 4 episodes. Everything else after that has just been kind of monster of the week and filler stuff. But I did really like how he went back to hire her, and she's doing that tethered fight thing. I mean, that was fun. It reminded me, kind of Marion in Raiders of the Lost Ark, especially how at the end when the guy taps out, he pays her. It's not a big deal, it's just what goes on. Nobody's cross about it. And then in the same way, it also reminded me a little bit of the introduction of Wolverine in the very first X-Men movie, when he's fighting in the bare knuckle fight thing in the cage. And I also liked how they played it kind of sensible. Mandy knows that, this is probably a setup and a trap. But it was also really good to see Quill again, and it's nice. And it's kind of brave that they've killed off Nick Nolte. Only you totally know that they haven't. I mean, right, here's the thing. That's clearly a fake out. Partly because this is Disney Star Wars, and they don't do stuff like that. I mean, not without giving them a big hero moment first and some big swell of music and stuff like that. I mean, look, he's lying there, and there's smoke coming from where? From his back. Now, where did we see him, about 2 minutes ago when he was riding on his big pork chop thing? He had a big, massive backpack on. So I'm calling shenanigans. I don't think he's dead. I'm calling it now. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I think that's what's going to be the case. But it was also really good to see Werner Herzog again. And I also love that they managed to get a joke in, because Werner Herzog's one of these people. He's kind of crazy, mad film director guy, but he's actually deadpan really funny. I mean, this is the same guy who like had a whole spiel about being creeped out by how stupid chickens are. No, I mean seriously. I mean, like look this up. It's mental.
Try to look a chicken in the eye with great intensity. The enormity of their stupidity is just overwhelming. The enormity of their flat brain and the intensity of stupidity that is looking back at you is just amazing.
And then they just killed him out of nowhere, and that was a total surprise because they actually did kill him. I mean, they had like suddenly Gus Fring appears, like Gus from Breaking Bad appears, and I love Giancarlo Esposito. He's awesome. I mean, I've been following his career ever since like The Usual Suspects back in the '90s, and I love that he's now like a total uber villain, and he gets picked up for things in films. Now, it also seems like he's some kind of high honcho imperial like big bad guy, hence having Death Troopers. Because I mean, we've only seen Death Troopers once before, and that was on Rogue One, and they were like the personal bodyguard of Krennic, who was the guy in that. So it totally makes sense that he would actually have his own like special battalion of guys, and he's obviously got some stake in this as well because he wants Bubba Yoda as well. But I'd be lying if I said it was all totally plain sailing. I mean, one thing is like the setup for IG-11 is clearly really obvious. He's going to save the day, and part of this is because but the only thing we actually know about Mandy is that he doesn't like droids. And presumably that's because we had the flashback where you saw his mum and his dad getting like killed off by like droids. Presumably that was during the Clone Wars, which if you think about it, makes him only a few years older than Luke is supposed to be at the end of Return of the Jedi, because this is only meant to be just after that. So yeah, I mean, I feel it's a bit heavy-handed the way they've been doing that. But as I said, I already called Nick Nolte totally not being dead. I mean, Quill, I think he's going to be alive again. And this way, him and IG-11 will be able to storm in and save the day, like coming like the cavalry at some point. But what kind of baffles me is why did they ever actually plan to bring Baby Yoda with them? I mean, why did they take him away from the ship only to send him back? I mean, I understand maybe they wanted to like show him to Dillon and stuff, but they should have just not bothered. They should have just brought the closed box. I mean, I don't know why they just didn't find something that looks a bit like him and stick it in there. And then it all just seemed a little bit kind of stupid. And also, and this is just me, I would have actually kind of liked it if maybe Werner or one of the scrappy stormtrooper guys had survived, because that would have been really funny if he totally didn't realize that Dillon and Karen and all that weren't actually on his side, and he was still hiding in there with the rest of them. But I mean, that's just the kind of thing I would have found funny. I mean, but other than that, this was actually a really good episode, and I'm actually really looking forward to the finale. I mean, because let's face it, it's got to be better than The Rise of Skywalker. I'll say more on that another time, but until next time, I've been Ian, and these have been my grumpy opinions.